Here is my uncle Howard. They called him Ikey, and his wife Helen, who died 6 or 7 years ago. Howard was my father's youngest brother. He died in World War II, and he was. There's interesting stories about their lives. He was my father's younger brother, and they enlisted together in the buddy system thinking they'd be together in the war, and they were never together in the war. They hadn't seen each other in months. My father shipped over to England to go in on the D-Day invasion. He was on the 5th wave at Omaha Beach, the bloodiest battle of the war, or one of the bloodiest battles of the war. And the night before he shipped over to Omaha Beach, he was in a pub in England. And it's sort of like a Humphrey Bogart movie. You could see all this smoke and everything. And he was at one end of the bar having a beer. And he looked at the other end of the bar and he said, "That man down there looks just like my brother." And he went down to tell him he looked just like his brother. And it was his brother. And Ikey had a daughter that was 3 months old that he saw once. On August 4th of 1944, he was, my Aunt Helen was out hanging clothes up, and there was a bird that kept trying to get in her hair while she was hanging clothes up. And it bothered her so much she went in to get a broom to get rid of the bird. And the bird started pecking at a star in the window, and during World War II, they had different colored stars to delegate what theater of war your loved one was in. And so, as Helen went in the house to get the broom, the bird went pecking at that star in the window, and it was the exact time that our uncle was killed in World War II in France. It was in August in World War II, August of '44, and he had come across a wounded GI and helped him back to camp, to the medical station, and they had left a gun there. And all my life I had heard that he went back to get his gun because he had left it there to help the man back to the medical station. But my cousin, who was around his age, told me just before he died that it wasn't his gun he went back to get, it was the man's gun that he helped back. So he went back to get his gun so he wouldn't get in trouble, and they had an ambush set up and he was killed. He was buried in the cemetery at Normandy. He has a monument in Normandy at the cemetery. 5 years after the war, my aunt brought him back to, he was shipped in by train to Auburn, New York, and they brought him here, and I have pictures of his funeral 5 years after his death. And my father always said, well, you know, maybe it wasn't him because they buried in mass graves during the war. And she said, but at least they gave a GI a decent burial. So that's part of our pride in our family. So, okay.